Storm clouds are gathering over the Alberta government.
We do not want to have to use the clear strike mandate we have received, but we will if necessary.
Some of the biggest public sector unions in the province are threatening to strike.
This is not something that we necessarily want to do, but we will move forward with that if we find that we're unable to get to a negotiated settlement that meets our needs.
Now, if you're thinking, shocker, strike threats during labor negotiations, never heard that before. Well, in Alberta, public sector strikes, even the threat of them, are pretty rare. This is not the norm, and don't take it from me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing a relatively unprecedented level of frustration amongst public sector workers in Alberta.
This professor of labor relations says workers haven't been this angry since Ralph Klein's cuts in the 90s. And he thinks the current labor climate could result in job action that would be far more sweeping than anything we saw back then or since, including the massive teachers walkout in 2002, one of the biggest strikes in the province's history. You see, it's not just the teachers who have voted to strike. So have members of the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees. It represents everyone from corrections workers to wildland firefighters. Then there are the province's paramedics and other health workers. They haven't voted to strike yet, but their union is preparing for one, launching strike training heading into mediation. The list goes on. And of course, each union has its own particular sticking points, but they all have one thing in common, something seen in Alberta's private sector too, by the way.
We used to have by far the highest wages, average wages in the country. We're now third. Both BC and Quebec have surpassed us in the last year.
So how did Alberta's public sector workers go from being the highest paid on average in the country to not? Well, it's been 10 years in the making.
We want to take you now to Edmonton. Premier Jim Prentice is taking questions from reporters dealing with the falling price of oil. Let's listen in.
This is the most significant public financial circumstance that we have seen in this province in a generation.
When the price of oil collapsed in 2015, the government faced a revenue crisis, which resulted in a freeze on pay increases across the public sector. And just as those collective agreements expired, COVID came along, causing another oil price collapse, with another premier painting a bleak picture.
We must begin to prepare ourselves for a time of adversity unlike any we have seen since the 1930s in this province.
With the fear of economic conditions akin to the Great Depression, big labor didn't get big raises. Take the teachers as an example. In the last decade, they saw 6 years of zeros. In total, their pay went up just shy of 6% over those years. According to the Bank of Canada, in the same period, the cost of living increased by 29%. The government says a mediator recommended the teachers accept a 12% increase over the next 4 years. The teachers rejected that recommendation.
That's one of the things that makes this particular moment quite unique. Normally, if a mediator is able to kind of find their way through to a solution, the parties tend to accept it. And so we've seen now repeatedly with the teachers, we saw it with the nurses initially as well, the members saying, nope, this is not good enough. And I think that really is speaking volumes about the depths of their frustration and anger.
Foster spent more than a decade with the Federation of Labor. He says it's the membership that's pushing union leadership right now. And you heard him mention the nurses there. After rejecting a mediator's recommendation, they settled for a 20% increase over 4 years. They're now the highest paid in the country once again. That's the benchmark for the other unions. Alberta's finance minister has said nobody wants the situation to escalate and that the government is offering the same market rate as other provinces. But here's the thing. Some forecasts have the price of oil dropping, and possibly by a lot in the months to come. It could all make for some very combustible conditions.